All right, fight fans, we got our guy on the line. It's been a while. I feel like it's been a while, maybe a few weeks, but it's time for Hearn to unleash Mr. Eddie Hearn.
Welcome, R&B singer. What does R&B stand for? Righteous and British, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Listen, before we get to Eddie's singing debut, I know that you had a big fight over the weekend in Cordina, big knockout win, but for some reason, I still feel like Devin Haney's attached to you. I feel like I have to talk to you about his win.
He's emotionally attached to him, or maybe I'm emotionally attached to him. I don't know. No, it was good. Look, I think it was sad in a way. You know, I spoke to Devin and Bill after, and I was like, "Look, I'm so happy for you guys. Like, obviously, I'm gutted that I couldn't share it with you because we always talked about that moment, you know, and sharing that together. I know they had to do it. You know, they would have been crazy not to do it, and the kid's loyal, but at the end of the day, you've got to take care of yourself and your career, and he had to take that opportunity. And, you know, he did all the things that we expected him to do, really. Just be too good, too awkward, too clever. You know, it was a clinic. You know, I know sometimes it gets mixed reviews because some people don't find that exciting, but I guess anyone that knows their boxing knows that that's the art and skill of boxing. And, you know, he was just much too good for George Kambosos. And amazing, really, to see Devin now as undisputed champion. You know, it was only, a few months ago, people were accusing him of being an email champion and, you know, and stuff like that. And now he's gone out round the blind side and won all the belts. So I'm over the moon for him.
Does it make you feel a little better with the fact that he bettered himself, he had to take the opportunity, but it all paid off, meaning he won the fight? Does that make you feel a little bit better about the whole deal?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from a business perspective and a money perspective, it doesn't really hurt, to be honest with you. But just from a being there perspective, you know, and just the sort of embracement of, I know what it meant to Devin, I know what it meant to Bill Haney, because I shared that for a long time. I mean, we did 6 fights together, and you know, at a time when no one really wanted Devin Haney. Like, we were the ones that backed him and said, I believe this kid is a special fighter, and I believe he can go on and win world titles and become undisputed. So that was pleasing in a way, that what we saw came into fruition. Obviously, it would have been sweet to be there and savor it all with those guys, but at the end of the day, you know, I consider Devin a friend, and I'm very happy for him and what he's achieved, because I knew how much it meant to him. He's a boxing guy through and through. So and that achievement will never be taken away from him.
No, not at all. I mean, I believe other people wanted him, but not wanted him the way he wanted to be wanted, you know, which was like a partnership. You gave him that.
When I say no one wanted him, I mean, obviously everyone knew he was a great fighter, but we were the we were the ones that were paid up. You know, we were the ones that really believed in him and took him forward. And, you know, boxing politics never allowed us to finish the job, but he finished the job, and I'm very proud of him.
Right. So you said it was a clinic by Devin. Last question on this: would you like to see a rematch with Kambosos?
No, this is a really difficult thing, you know, as a promoter, and when this kind of thing happens, and like, as much as I wanted to be involved in the first fight, I wouldn't like to be involved in the contractual situation for the second fight, because Kambosos, I don't know the ins and outs, but it appears Kambosos has a rematch clause.
Yeah.
He will, you know, call on the rematch, and you've got to pay the money as the promoter.
Yes.
So for a fight that isn't really necessary, in all honesty, like when it's 120, 108 or close to, do you really want to see it again? But obviously Kambosos is going to go, yeah, absolutely. You know, this is why I signed up to the fight.
Well, as a promoter, how do you get around that? Say you're Devin Haney's promoter. He wiped, you know, it was an easy victory. How do you get around the rematch?
If you're Devin Haney, you don't mind, because you're going to get paid more money to go and do it all over again, right?
Yeah.
The problem comes from the promoters, and, you know, the ones that have to put the money on. You bank and you bet that you can attract the TV rights, which they'll probably already have in place, and sometimes it can be difficult. So right now, probably, knowing how the business works, Aram and those kind of guys will go to Kambosos and say, look, let Haney fight Lomachenko,
Lomachenko.
We'll give you a comeback fight, or we'll give you some step aside, or whatever we want to do, and you get the winner automatically. And George Kambosos will say, no, thank you. I want the rematch right now, back in Australia.
Right.
And he's got the right to do that. So that's when it becomes tricky. When all of a sudden you've got to pay the money for a fight that actually doesn't attract those numbers. But for Devin, I would be shocked if he had many more fights at 135. He's been talking about moving to 140 for a long time. If he stays with ESPN, they've got some big fights for him at 140. Teofimo Lopez, maybe Josh Taylor, all that kind of stuff. So I think he's in a great position, and I guess he won't be bothered about fighting a rematch. He'll think that he can do it the same thing again.
That's real mature of you. And speaking about being shocked, were you shocked with Cordina knocking out Ogawa?
Wow. I was shocked at the way it unfolded. I mean, I believe Joe Cordina could win the fight. It's not that he doesn't carry power, it's just that he's not a knockout artist, but he's a very sharp shooter, and his timing is excellent. And obviously with Ogawa's keenness and the fact that he likes to walk in and, be aggressive, he just timed it absolutely beautiful. I mean, it was like a little feint to the body, squared him up, bang, with a right hand. And he was knockout of the year. And now he just changes his life. I mean, when you talk about Shakur Stevenson, for me, is already a pound for pound great fighter, right? But tell me a fighter at 130 pounds that you'd give more chance of beating Shakur Stevenson right now than Joe Cordina. And I know Cordina would be an underdog in the fight, but when you produce performances like that, you start saying, okay, this kid is a threat to people like Shakur Stevenson. And the difference with Cordina is technically very good and very cute as well. And Shakur is probably the king of that. He's so good and so cute and so clever. But that's a really, really good fight. And it will probably end up at some point being for the undisputed championship at 130 pounds. Just a life-changing moment for Joe Cordina.
I say, how we looked at Shakur Stevenson years ago and said, you know what, that kid right there is probably going to give Josh Warrington some real trouble when Josh was king at 126. And I think that's how we're looking at Cordina, like, okay, you might not be ready now, but if anybody's going to be ready, it's going to be Cordina.
It's the best fight. Like if I said to you now, tell me the best fight at 130 pounds.
Well, after that knockout, yes.
I think you say it's Shakur Stevenson against Joe Cordina, which is fantastic. Great.
And they went back and forth on social. They've been going back and forth. Have you seen that?
Yeah, and that respect, because they grew up together on the amateur scene. Joe was, a 2016 Olympian, just missed out in London in 2012, boxed everywhere in the world, knows Shakur very well. They would have watched each other hundreds of times in the amateurs. So why not?
Speaking of rematches, we touched on the Devin one. Here's a fight that I thought it was an automatic rematch, but apparently it's not going to happen, and that's Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Why is that fight not happening?
Whether they don't think they can win the fight, or whether they just want to get some confidence, or I don't know, but they don't want the rematch right now, and we want to do that fight in front of 80,000 at Croke Park in Ireland. We reached out to their team and it was like, there's no number. It wasn't even like, let's negotiate, let's make you an offer. It's like, look, we don't want to do that rematch right now. She's going to go away. She's going to fight, I think, in August.
And when you say they, you only mean Katie Taylor's side?
No. Amanda Serrano.
Oh, okay. You mean both?
No. Katie Taylor's desperate for the rematch. She's got the opportunity to do a huge fight in Ireland, and we wanted Amanda Serrano because it was just incredible. Yeah. So we spoke to Most Valuable Promotions, and they just said, look, it's not. We don't really want to go to Ireland, and it's not the money. Like, you could offer us X and we wouldn't take it. So it was surprising, because I thought Amanda felt like she won the fight and she could beat Katie Taylor. And obviously they'll be turning down a huge amount of money, but they don't even really want to entertain the discussions.
If it's another tight, close fight like it was in New York, you figure that same type of fight, and maybe even if she did a little bit better, Amanda Serrano, you figure you don't necessarily win it over there in Ireland.
Like, yeah, maybe, but at the same time, like, don't you want be involved in the biggest global fights. Like, you could fight in front of
If you feel like you're on an even playing field, yeah, you know.
Yeah, but even playing field. I mean, don't forget, Barack.
She came to New York.
Where's Amanda Serrano from? Brooklyn.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's true.
We just did the fight in New York. I know there was a lot of Irish there, but it's not Katie's fault.
More Irish than Puerto Rican.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
No, you're right. You're right.
I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you the mindset of the fighter. Come on, you know.
Mindset of the fighter, Barack, should be yes. I will rematch in the fight 2 of one of the greatest fights of all time.
I agree with Eddie.
I'll do it in front of 80,000 in the most historic night you could ever see in sport.
Hey, if Devin Haney said, "Hey, I don't want to go to Australia," I would have understood that. I do give him more credit for going to Australia, but I'm just saying that's how fighters think, and that's not something.
But that's what's wrong with boxing. Why would you understand Devin Haney saying?
Because there's corruption in boxing. That's why. And and every boxer has a right to say, "Can we have it at a neutral place?" You've done that before. You've even said that before.
Not when there's an A side and a B side.
No, you've said that before.
Devin Haney had to go to Australia. Devin Haney knew he could win every round. He went over there. He won every round. He won the titles.
Well,
so
Rob,
I get
but
what you're
this is
saying.
what I'm saying.
But when you don't have,
she already fought Katie, and Amanda Serrano already fought Katie, and she knows that it was a tough, tight fight. Maybe she felt like she won. A lot of people felt like she won, but she's saying, "Okay, I don't actually want to do that." If we know that this is a normal thought, why are we acting like this? Eddie, you've had fighters in this situation where you said you need neutral ground. So I understand that's your fighter, Katie Taylor. But you know that this is a thought.
You got a champion and a challenger. And at the end of the day, we went to New York, and yes, of course, she'll be up against it. But by the way, she'll get paid a lot more money than the first fight, right? She'll have another chance. She'll have neutral judges. She had Katie Taylor out on her feet in the 5th round.
No, Barack, I got to jump in here. I mean, I know what you're saying. It's a thought, but is that thought strong enough for you not to take an opportunity? Like, obviously, the fight was massive.
For a lot of fighters, yes. Of course, we commend the fighter that goes and do it, and I would like to see her go and do it too. But let's not act like we're oblivious to this.
No, but also, what about the mindset of a fighter saying, you know what, I will go anywhere in the world, like the Alis of the world, like fighters have done, and fight for legacy, for glory.
Are you guys listening to what I'm saying? Or are you listening to what I'm saying?
I know
I'm
what
saying.
You're saying.
I respect that more.
I don't see why.
I'm not going to act like
I don't see why. No. I don't see why Amanda won't go to Ireland to fight Katie Taylor in a massive fight after we know what we saw in New York. Katie came to New York, to Eddie's point. I don't see why Amanda wouldn't want that fight. I'm sorry. I don't. And we got Eddie over here, and we're arguing.
Let the boys argue.
Listen, Eddie, let's move on from this. Barack and I aren't going to agree on this, but look, are we finalized with Usyk Joshua in the Middle East? Is that the play here?
Yeah, that is the play. I mean, July 23rd was obviously the proposed date. We got to a point where it was, we're now less than 7 weeks away. We've got global media tours, we've got TV rights to secure, or they have, international sponsorship deals. So you're going to see that fight in August, 13 and 20, the 2 proposed dates. Like, we are literally signing the paperwork as we go in the last 24 hours. So you will get an official announcement soon. The international media's tour, I think, will start week commencing like June 20 or something like that. So the fight is on, the fight is happening. Middle East looks pretty much set. I'll save the exact details for the announcement, but we're pretty much there now.
And as far as rights for the zone, where would this fight be viewed?
We'll see that unfold shortly. We can't create the kind of money, Barack, for Amanda Serrano without doing the biggest gate possible. So if we're going to pay Amanda Serrano, right, significantly more than the first fight where she just lost and she's challenging again for the titles, like, we think that's a pretty fair spot to be in. When you talk about A side and B side,
100%.
When you talk about A side and B side in Usyk Joshua, quite frankly, we know there's a challenger and a champion, but they would not be receiving these kind of site fees if Anthony Joshua was not involved, right? But at the same time, if the money, also that fight is, you go within the contractual situation of that fight to the site that creates the most revenue. That's how the contract for that works. And if that was Ukraine, we would actually not really have any choice but to do that. And AJ
No,
would
I
go,
agree with you, but maybe you don't realize I'm saying there's a good choice and there's a great choice. And I just want to hear from you and Ak. I just want to hear from you and Ak that, hey, I understand. That's all I'm saying. Not, yes, we know going there and doing it is greater, but I understand because my fighters do that too.
If you don't want the money, if you don't want the legacy, if you don't want to create history, I understand.
Yo, I swear you better say that to your fighters too that feel this way, because you know that's just a feeling, man. All I'm saying is understand it.
I don't understand it.
I understand it. If you don't think you can win, I understand it. That's what you've got. But you have to agree with that as well. If you don't think you can win, you don't go. That's the truth.
No, but in her mind, she's saying, but I just won. And I didn't get it in New York. So I'm just saying that's a normal thought. Is it better to say, yes, you get more credit when you go and do it? Yeah, let me finish talking. You don't have to interrupt me.
But you've been saying
Is it better to say
the
that?
same
Yes.
thing.
But
it's a
and
thought.
y'all saying the same thing too.
But yo, you
It's
keep
an
saying,
argument. You're not saying
it's
that
a thought. Hold on, I agree. It's a thought for a second. And then afterwards you should think, I'm gonna go over there and get these straps. That should be what you execute.
What I'm saying is, you guys are acting like this is not something that you've said that you even spoke for with other fighters. You both are acting like this is not normal, and other fighters you gave a pass to.
It's normal to think you're right. It's normal to have a thought, but when it's time to
you've given
execute,
passes to other fighters.
But the thought should be
both
strong enough.
giving passes to other fighters.
The thought should not be strong enough for you to turn the fight down. So yes, I'm gonna think it. I think a lot of things. I'm not gonna go on and execute it. After thinking it, then it should be like, hey, she came to New York. This is a lot of money. I have another opportunity to go and get these straps and be undisputed. Hey Jordan, hey Jake, let's go. That's what you should execute.
Damn, you know what? I'm telling y'all, I agree that, but the angle you guys were talking was like, this is something, I can't believe this.
Mostly when people don't go, they don't think they can win. But we just like to take this.
And that's probably so, but don't act like we don't understand this.
All right, let's
we would
move on.
like to take this official moment to thank Amanda Serrano's new PR manager, Barack, for his comments.
All right, let's move on.
Yo, I argue for any fighter.
I have to mention this, Eddie. Obviously, your song towards Leonard LV was brilliant. Online, as you Brits say, is very brilliant. I want to know something. Look,
you said his song like it's on iTunes or something.
I don't know. I think he should put it out on iTunes. But I don't know what the beef is. But I do know this. I've heard Leonard talk trash about, I would knock him out and I'll do this and that and third. I've seen you throw punches. I mean, I've seen you hit the pad. I've seen you, box with Frank. You're a big guy, way bigger than Leonard. I almost want to see you guys spar or fight, because I don't like how aggressive he is. Maybe a charity event, you and Leonard putting on some gloves, headgears, and duking it out. What do you say?
Charity's nice, but you'd have to pay me. I mean, the reality is that it would be pretty embarrassing, because I can't really fight, and he can't fight either. But he's like,
but could you beat him? I mean, you're bigger than him. What would you say?
It would be embarrassing for him if he didn't beat me, because I'm pretty useless, really. But to be honest with you, like, the whole thing is so funny, and I think it's good for boxing, really. To be honest with you, like, I just think I see it very differently to how he sees it. Like, all the memes and like the songs and stuff like that. I just think, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but my profile is much bigger than Leonard Ellerby's, right? But in America, he's helping me raise my profile. Like, when they speak for 6 or 7 minutes on Showtime just about me, that's pretty big for me in America. Like, it's like when Jake Paul, all that kind of stuff for the Taylor Serrano fight. So he's helping me a lot in America, and I can help him a lot as well, because he has like 50, 60, 70,000 followers. I have like 1.3 million. I know followers isn't the be all and end all, but quite frankly, like, there's a lot of people that know about Leonard through our beef. But he doesn't really get that. For him, it's just high blood pressure time. Do you know what I mean? And I never really know. He keeps saying like he knows what he did. And I said to him, like I said in the thing, call me or come see me. Like, if you've got a problem. But I don't really know what I'm supposed to have done other than just talked about some of his fights and stuff like that. But, in terms of fighting him, no, listen, I don't think it would be, I don't know.
Entertaining.
Can he fight? I don't know.
I've never seen him throw punches. He claims that he trains though.
I've lost like 18, 15 kilos. So I don't really know like how the weight would work out. Like I'm 232 pounds, but he's quite a short guy, right? I don't know. I've met him once, but I can't. But he looks quite chunky.
I don't know. You probably both are in the same weight class.
Same kind of weight.
Same weight class. Yeah.
Heavyweight.
Me personally, I would like to see it.
I bet I look better in shorts.
Promote it.
No, I'm not.
All right, listen, Eddie. You know this is your segment, Eddie. You know, selling the unsellable. Nobody does it like you. You are truly the best when it comes to this. Yes, and we need you to sell gasoline to an owner of an electric car. Ready, set, go.
Okay. Now, I'm all for the environment.
25
let's
seconds.
be honest. When you get in the car, right, and there's no noise, it is highly depressing, right? We don't want to live in the space age, in the age of you turn the engine, you press the button. We want to hear the roar, right? We live in, we're full of testosterone. The roar, the gasoline, that is what makes us feel like real men. So we need to stop with this space age technology of pressing buttons and moving up. Okay, I'm sitting at the lights.
But I have a baby.
Yeah, the music's
I have a little
blaring.
baby in the car.
Forget the baby, 1 second. And then you're sitting at the lights, the music's blaring. Right, okay, I'm gonna feel the power of this engine. I'm gonna ready? I mean, that makes you feel good. Now, let's replace that with the non-gasoline version. Okay, I'm at the lights. Now I'm gonna feel the power. What's that?
But I have to
you need
pay
to
for
feel
the
the
gas.
vibrations of the engine go through your leg, into your heart, into your mind, to give you that moment when you feel free. Not the moment when the gasoline is not in the vehicle. Not the moment when the tank is empty. Because if the tank is empty, not just in your car, but in your life, things become less enjoyable. Put the gasoline in.
Are we talking about a car or are you talking to a fighter?
We're
in the corner?
I'm talking about everything, Barack. We need to go deeper than just gasoline and electric cars. We need to talk about tanks being full. We're not talking about plugging something in. We're talking about juicing it up and revving it up, okay? So don't start talking to me about electric cars.
All right, Eddie, hopefully next week, maybe we'll get an exclusive and an official date and venue for AJ Usyk. Yeah, man, thanks for joining us as always. Peace.